Get a room, you sordid little... And they responded with, we have got a room. Yours. Hello and welcome to another episode of Halfway Planet. I'm Lawrence Brown.
I'm Sarah Cantrell.
And we are a couple. You already knew that if you know this series.
And if not, welcome.
Yes, hi. Welcome to the vault, as it were. I don't know why it was that, but it was. So if you've been watching our videos recently, you will know that we have been travelling around England and we've been to many, many places. Grimsby, York, London, the Cotswolds, and in between, and as part of the Cotswolds, we went to a little place called Gloucester.
Hey, cheers.
Cheers! Now, thoughts on Gloucester? Gloucester, very interesting place. You know, I think before we get ahead of ourselves here, you know, my sort of impression or my instinct about Gloucester, given its history or what I sort of vaguely know about it or knew about it, was that it would be a city fairly akin to somewhere like York, right? And I think that's what I imagined going in. So I just want to sort of put that out there, that expectation out there. Yeah, now, because you really booked it kind of as a sort of homestead while we were going off to the Cotswolds in the day and the evening and all of that. So we didn't really have many sort of expectations of going around the city itself. Hence, we're now sitting down in front of you and sort of talking about it instead of providing you with bags and bags of edited footage. After we left the train station, on foot in fact, with our suitcases, our strollers. Strollers? That's for babies. We didn't have those.
They're just, they're suitcases that have wheels on them.
Basically, right? And so we walked from the train station to our Tudorian, that's not a word, Tudor-esque hotel. Not even Tudor-esque, it was a Tudor hotel. We walked all the way from the train station to there. I say all the way, it was a 10-minute walk. But I gather that this was the dodgy end of Gloucester, and for those of you who are of an American disposition, dodgy just means quite rough and ready, or that's at least what it felt like at that time of night.
Yes, well, and also later on in our stay, we actually did witness someone yelling at another person, and...
We did, yeah, so we ran pretty sharpish. We didn't have our suitcases on that occasion, but yeah, just that sort of general area from the train station to our hotel, that's what our first impression of Gloucester was, I'm sad to say. So with that in our minds, we were just sort of quick to want to get into our hotel and sort of get settled. So we arrive at our hotel and take a look at this. Like I said before, it is a Tudor period building. It comes from the late 1400s. And I believe this is in fact on the record. This was the very building at which Lady Jane Grey was proclaimed Queen of England following the death of King Edward IV. It is a very historic building. It's quite renowned in the Gloucester area. It is called the New Inn, quite ironically. Not very new, was it?
Indeed. And from the outside, it looks beautiful, and I was happy to sit in the courtyard, although he had some shady characters coming in and out sometimes.
It's okay though, they were taken out and executed. I've just realised this wasn't the Tudor period. It was 2019.
So yeah, we get checked in, everything seems cool, we go up to the third story, and no, there is no elevator, but I mean, that's to be expected. It's
Sure.
a Tudor building.
Yeah, it's what
It was fine for us, it wouldn't be fine for somebody with, like, disabilities where they couldn't walk upstairs, which used to be me, so...
So we're climbing up the stairs, not climbing, you don't climb them, you just walk up them. And, you know, I don't think this building, built in the Tudor period as it was, had tall people in mind, because when we got to the top of the stairs, Tara walked through just fine, 5'5", right? 6'1" here, bangs his head on the beam. Now, it was that kind of beam that you expect from a Tudor building, so I almost felt honoured to have come that close to it. Intimately close, in fact, and I left with a bruise. That was sort of a precursor, I think, to what was about to come next.
So we got into our room, and we were shocked to see the first off, it was completely threadbare outside of a bed, and that was not what we had ordered. We had ordered some kind of a suite, so we were expecting like a second bed or a couch or something. There was a TV, but did it work? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because the lighting fixtures were falling out of the wall, and all of the wires were actually exposed.
It had kind of a 1980s look to it, but Tudor era safety practices.
Yeah, and so we walked into the bathroom, it was the same deal, if the light actually even came on, which the above light I believe did, but the light above the sink was also hanging out of the wall. And so, of course, we're on the third floor. There's no elevator, mind you. So I had to walk all the way back down and tell them about this, and then walk all the way back up to go to our new room because they decided that it was just too much of a hassle to fix the problem, and they moved us, which actually I'm very glad that they did, because our next room was a little bit better.
Yeah, it was quite a lot better. I think our first impressions walking in is, wow, okay. I'm almost glad we had that first room, because the expectation now has been lifted, I suppose. Walking into this place, it was more what we expected. It had those kind of beams that we spoke about. They were a bit higher up, so I didn't bang my head on those ones, and so it spoke history to us.
It also had an updated bathroom, and it seemed like newish furniture, but, furniture that kind of spoke to the Tudor period a little bit, and it was just a lot nicer. So we drop our bags, and then I, of course, being very tired, having traveled all day, went to the shower and proceeded to start my shower, turn the water on, got, soaked in, and the shower proceeds to start clogging up and overflowing.
It was like an episode of Some Mothers Do Have 'Em. I was Frank Spencer in this scenario.
So Lawrence had to go down to the reception and handle that problem.
Which of course was a problem, because I don't like talking to people. But I talked to the manager. I said, hey, we've got a bloody ballywell shower up there. Can you come and fix it? And he came up, sans plunger, because he's not a plumber, nor am I, and said, you know what we'll do? Do you know what we'll do? Do you know what we'll do, folks? We'll get you a plumber, because that's what you do. So he said, yes, we'll get one in, but he probably won't arrive until tomorrow. Is that okay? Yeah, we'll be in the Cotswolds. It'll be fine. And sure enough, he came, the plumber.
I was actually asked to go and get my shower in another room. No, we didn't have to move this time, but I did have to bring all of my things with me and then bring them back and make sure that I was dressed and all that silliness, because our shower was broken.
Yeah, so we basically saw 3 rooms in 2 hours. It was like almost a sort of a tenth of the complex. Complex? Not even a compound. Not that. What am I talking about? Hotel. I don't know at this point.
And so the theme of this place, I can definitely say with experience, is that it's inconsistent.
Yeah, inconsistent is a great way of putting it. I think from, the staff to just the layout and the rooms themselves, quite a different look to it. It wasn't all bad though. I think that, there are some more things that we'll talk about in just a second, but we were talking about the history of the place, and as you're walking in, as you saw a moment ago, there's that courtyard, really beautiful area. And one day in fact, while we were there, I was just laying in bed, as you do. I suddenly heard this sort of sea shanty music just coming out of out of nowhere, I suppose. Turns out it wasn't nowhere. This was happening in the courtyard, in front of which was an audience of about 50 or 60 people. And forward my brave boys. It was really nice, that, and this was quite in keeping, I think, with the history of this courtyard, because it was known for putting on performances, actually plays back in sort of the late 1500s, early 1600s. Rumour has it, in fact, that one William Shakespeare himself may have performed there back in the day with his troupe of theatre folk.
The reason why there were sea shanties going on is because it turns out, and we didn't even know this is not why we booked here, but in Gloucester, they were having their Tall Ships Festival that weekend. And so the next day, we were actually out in the Cotswolds, weren't really paying too much attention to what was happening in Gloucester itself, but then we came back, and I went on a walk on my own, and ended up in the midst of this Tall Ships Festival, and in fact it was very, very nice.
I think the funny thing is, at the top of the show I talked about my expectations of Gloucester. One of those was not that it was kind of seafaring in any regard, but it has waterways that link essentially to the River Severn, I suppose, and then therefore to the sea. And I didn't realise that. And in fact, I became very confused one night when we were in this second room and we were trying to sleep. And outside of the window, what did we hear?
Seagulls.
Yeah, seagulls. And I think they were mating.
They were really
it was
loud.
Obscene, in fact.
And it wasn't just the one night either. Every night we were there, they were like squawking at each other and trying to communicate very loudly outside.
And I was like, get a room, you sordid little... And they responded with, we have got a room. Yours, you bloody...
It was extremely weird.
This was prior to me knowing that Gloucester even had a port of any kind, so it just seemed weird that seagulls were sort of in the middle of Gloucester at that point, having sex, no less.
Yeah, and thankfully I was prepared, so I had these, and I don't usually pack earplugs, but I had remembered right before we left that the last time we were on a train, there had been this baby who had just yelled and screamed and cried the entire way back to Chicago.
I wasn't that loud.
I decided that I would pack these for each of us, and thankfully, after we noticed that the seagulls were squawking at each other, we could just kind of forget about them. Definitely recommend it. You never know. Kind of like with the towel thing, you never know when you're going to need this when you're traveling.
True. I didn't actually use those in the end. So I don't put things in my body.
How did you sleep?
Badly. Very. I woke up in a field in the Cotswolds. She dragged me. So, yeah, it was really weird. Obviously, we had these sort of initial impressions of Gloucester not being that great. You know, the walk from the station and then the eccentricities of the new inn and all of that. But it turns out that it was for the reasons that Tara just laid out. And then, you know, I think it was on the Sunday while we were in Gloucester, we both went out, I think, to the Gloucester's little port area, and they still had the festival going on. Mm-hmm. It was just really nice, wasn't it? There was lots of bands out. People were just having a good time. There was lots of cheap beer.
So when you go to Gloucester, just make sure that you hang around the port area, really. The port is really, really nice. I'm sure that there are places to stay. Of course, we didn't know that at the time, so I can't really recommend anywhere to you. But I would skip the new inn. It has a really nice restaurant. Maybe go and have a pint and...
Does bloody good Yorkshire puddings.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a recommendation I would give. You know, one thing I should say is that we didn't get out to this place, but a lot of people did ask, did you get to the cathedral? Looks kind of interesting from afar, so, you know, that might be worth checking out if you are in the Gloucester area. One thing I would say, this is something I think we learned, having used Gloucester as a home base for the rest of kind of going out to the Cotswolds, probably best to stay in Cheltenham, because you have to kind of change there to get to anywhere that you want to go in the Cotswolds, and you'll see our Cotswolds video coming up here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, and did you know that there is someone who made it to the cathedral?
Oh, who's that?
Jodie Whittaker.
The Doctor, yes, she did. They filmed Doctor Who there. Like, was it days after or days before?
It was literally the day before we arrived.
Unbelievable.
We just missed her.
She ignored all of my texts in the build-up as well. I can't believe that.
So, yeah, I mean, Gloucester, very nice. Don't stay there. Stay in Cheltenham. But definitely it's worth, you know, a half a day's visit. Go and see the docks. They have really nice museums. But specifically their Maritime History Museum is...
Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun little... We didn't get much time there because we sort of entered there at like 4:40 and it was closing at 5. But it was fun nonetheless. Something else before we check out here is we'd gotten to Gloucester having already done London, Grimsby, York, and getting there did feel kind of like an amalgamation of all of that and everywhere that we'd seen in England. So you did kind of have the history, in parts anyway, of York. It wasn't as widespread by any means. It was like Grimsby in the sense that, you know, it had a fishing port and an infestation of pigeons. And it was like London in no way at all, actually. So just Grimsby and York in that way.
I don't think it was like either of them, but that's fine.
I'm just trying to tie it back to our previous videos. Gloucester's where I lost her. My rhyme. That's it. Thank you for watching this episode of Halfway Planet. Continue to join us on our journey around England in the coming weeks. But until then, that's it from Lawrence.
And Sarah.
Bye. Thank you for watching this episode of Lost in the Pond. Don't forget to hit my stupid little face to subscribe, and please share this video with the world. Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram and Facebook, and if you would like to support this channel, please do so at patreon.com/lostinthepond.